Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, me! This, yes! Right, this is fun, isn't it? A little extra Monday action. I've got a lapel mic on. That's, so you know it's serious. And there's about 6 cameras on, which seems like a lot, but Richy is very enthusiastic and very thorough, and he wants to get all the angles. This is a Netflix special, in case you didn't know. They don't know that either yet, but, once they see the quality of Richy's edit, they'll sure to snap it up. It's just, I think it's $6.99 a month if you're not a subscriber to Netflix. It's my little plug for Netflix. Cool. So yeah, my name's Jimmy Hogg, and this show is called A Brief History of Petty Crime. And I've been doing it for the run in this building, but I've been in the banqueting hall, which if you don't know that venue, it's a lovely little venue. It's like some cool venues here, but it doesn't have a door. So now I've got a door. It feels like I've gone up a notch, right? So what used to always happen is you just have I'd be doing the show and there's an endless parade of people walking past and looking in. And one of my favorite moments that actually happened there was when I speak a bit of Spanish and a Spanish couple walked by and they sort of looked in, and I'm doing my show, I'm speaking to the audience, and then someone the guy said to the girl, "Is this a comedy?" And then the woman went, "Yeah, I don't think so." But in Spanish. So, I've been heckled by people not in my show in a foreign language. So I feel like I've already, experienced everything now. And last year I had one person sat right in the front, and at the end of my show, when you do, traditionally you do a bucket speech at free shows, at the end of my show, the guy just went, "I'm not giving you anything, that was shite." So, yeah. You've lost some weight and you've gained some height, so that's nice. Yeah, okay, so, I'm just gonna crack on with the show. Thank you very much for coming. Cheers. So, I'm walking through Plymouth city centre. It's recently been pedestrianised and locals are enjoying the thrill of shopping unimpeded by traffic. And I'm just trundling along at a leisurely pace, trying to hide the morbid fear and gut-wrenching paranoia, which is symptomatic of my age and social class, while, at the same time, projecting my individuality and my staunch anti-establishment sentiments. And then, they're there, in front of me. The pigs, the narcs, the fuzz, the filth, 2 coppers staring right at me, pointing and nodding their heads. Guilt seizes me and roots me to the spot. "Excuse me, sir." They're talking to me. "Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if you'd like to participate in an ID parade." I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything." "Yeah, we know that, sir. We just need some gents to make up the numbers in an ID parade. We have our suspect back at the station, you see." "You'd be compensated for your time, sir." "Compensated? Really? How much?" £10, cash, and all I have to do is just stand there in a line. Takes about 45 minutes, sir." "Oh, brilliant." So I'm stood in this line with 4 other fellas, and the police bring in the suspect of what we haven't been told. And he picks his place in the line, number 3, and I'm bumped down to number 5. Lights shine in our eyes as a witness behind a screen tries to identify the offender and suspects the suspect, but doesn't give a 100% unequivocal ID, which is what they need to make it count, take it to court, get a conviction, and then put him away. Before the second witness is brought out, number 4, to my right, asks the suspect, number 3, to his right, what he's been accused of. "My fucking ex reckons I stole her Tamazipan script, don't she? But I wasn't nowhere near the chemist. I was at my grand's having Finder's crispy pancakes, ham and cheese. Yeah, she's just been in a mental case, right, because I dumped her, pretended she was pregnant before that and did a nut when I blanked her. What did she expect, right? Walk into my work when I'm with the lads, yeah? Now she's doing all this shit when I know she went and sold a Tamazipan to her dealer down in Swilly. Cunt's got a pit bull he has, nasty little thing. I've always been round there and give him a fucking slap myself. Oi! Shut it, Radcliffe! Well, he asked me." And then he is silenced as the police prepare the second witness. And I realise that this man is potentially going to prison for allegedly stealing his ex-girlfriend's prescription drugs. And I decide I shall spare him this fate. Lights shine in our eyes once more as a second witness behind a screen surveys the 6 assembled men. And I transform my visage into a menacing scowl. It's a look I've learnt to perfect while walking down the streets of Plymouth in order to prevent being beaten up by random thuggish types. I think it's number 5, we hear a witness say over the speaker system. Are you sure? Asks one of the coppers. Yes, I'm sure. It's him. Number 5. I saw him in the chemist picking up a prescription. Number 5. And he walked. Yeah. Number 3. The guy accused of stealing his ex-girlfriend's prescription drugs. He walked away scot-free because of my acting ability. And I walked away with a crisp £10 note and a smile on my face. Yeah. About 6 weeks later, number 3 would stab his ex-girlfriend 17 times in the chest, neck, and hands. And then the black cloud formed over my head, and I realized that my karma was fucked for the rest of my life. My dad and I, we had an arrangement. I could borrow the car whenever I wanted to, provided that I replaced the petrol and, if stopped by the police for any reason whatsoever, I would state that I'd taken the car without his permission. Because, you see, the car didn't have any tax, any MOT, and I wasn't insured to drive it. Also, and this is quite important, I didn't have a driving license. Yeah, so naturally this concerned my mum, but there was little she could do other than sit back, clutching her apron, furrowing her brow, and hoping for the best. But my dad had faith in me. Yeah, he trusted me. He'd taken me out before in the car when it was legally allowed on the carriageways, and he'd remarked I was a much better and safer driver than my older brother Danny, who actually had a driving license. So, we had our arrangement. I'd take the car out on Friday and Saturday nights and cruise around the places that people with cars cruised around and park in the places that people with cars parked in before returning home to put my key in the front door to settle my mum's nerves and ensure she had a good night's sleep. Now, it's Saturday, and I've got wind of a party out in the sticks by an old quarry, and because I have transportation, I can go. But wait. I understand what kind of party it's going to be, you know? Lots of people drinking heavily and dry humping, and maybe someone's actually managed to score some hash. But I am conscientious enough. I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to smoke, I don't have time to dry hump, even if the opportunity were somehow miraculously going to present itself before me. No, I'm just going to go there to the party, show my face, and hopefully elevate my social status. I mean, I'll get to the dry humping later, you know, circumstances permitting, that is. So, Chili and I drive off in the red Volkswagen Polo as my mum waves anxiously from the window, and I pretend to ignore her and the maternal portent she oozes. Chili waves back. He loves my mum. He doesn't really have a mum of his own, so he's adopted mine, which is fine with me, right? Because it splits her focus and I feel that she worries about me less. Oh, sorry, yeah. Chili is my best friend, by the way. Yeah, he's the first real best friend I've ever had. We were jointly and severally the new kids in the rough school, where I copied his French homework and gave him a handful of crisps at break time in return. We shared feelings of frustration, displacement, and sexual inadequacy, as well as the usual disdain for authority and hatred of a god that we didn't actually believe existed. But this is a few years on now, and we're motoring along steadily to the party by the deserted clay mine. We're excited. Yeah, we haven't been to very many parties. Well, unless you count sitting around with a handful of spotty pasty outcasts on a Saturday afternoon, drinking litres of no-frills pop and rolling 8-sided die to determine whether Bogar the dwarf, son of Hamley, manages to slay Crandar, the goblin wraith king of the underworld and keeper of the 3 black stones of Ra. Yay! Oh! Sorry, Phil. For some people, you see, this would constitute a party, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah, and there's going to be girls there, yeah, at this party we're going to by the deserted clay mine. Yeah, It's guaranteed. Girls who previously were inaccessible to us because we didn't have transportation. There's this posh girl with a double-barreled surname that Chili is besotted with. And, well, I haven't had a chance to hone in yet, really. I mean, I haven't got a clue where to begin. I'm in love with any girl that will talk to me. And, you know, it doesn't really matter what happens tonight anyway, because we're just going to go there to the party, show our faces, and then we're going to jet out of there as though we've got other parties to go to, you see? Yeah, we're going to create our own mythologies. We're going to write our own histories, right? And then we get jobs and money and girlfriends and white trainers and sovereign rings and our own two-piece pool cues, right? Which we chalk with green chalk, don't we? Not blue chalk, because blue chalk is standard issue in the pubs, isn't it? It's for the plebs, the proles, the scum. No, we use green chalk, which is twice as expensive as the blue chalk and is in no way proven to be better or more effective than the blue chalk, but it means you're not a numpty, not a muppet, not a scrote. It means you're a real fucking pool player, doesn't it? And you better not let me break, son, because you might not get another fucking shot. And we're driving some 10, 12 miles out of the city. It's the furthest I've ever gone in one direction. I feel a little bit agoraphobic, insecure. But the ill feeling doesn't get a chance to root itself, because we turn a corner and then we're there, the middle of nowhere. There's a dozen cars, a few dozen people, a couple of tents. Everyone stops to see who's rattling up in the red rust bucket. And we get a reception. We get a round of applause. People actually clap as we emerge from the car. Nice. Yeah. This is a good start, right? Better than I imagined in my imagination, where I'm actually popular and girls want to touch me. So, the evening progresses. We chit-chat, we mingle, we mix, we tell jokes, and we laugh over-enthusiastically at the jokes of others. A jug of scrumpy cider comes round, and I explain proudly that I can't because I'm driving. Yeah. Chili, on the other hand, takes a couple of big glugs each time the jug comes round. He's getting into the spirit of things, getting in there amongst it. Quickly, I succumb and drink a small plastic cup of cider. Look, the legal limit is 5 units of alcohol, yeah? I'm way under, it's fine. I'm just being overly cautious because I'm not actually allowed to drive a car, you see? But this dark-haired temptress called Juliet poured the cider for me, and I just lapped up the attention. Oh, thanks. You're trying to get me drunk? That's the stuff, innit? Oh, I'm wasted. Yeah. But okay, that's enough flirting. We have to go, Chili and I. We have to create this mythology for ourselves, right? We have to garner kudos. We're playing the long game here, right? So I drag Chili away from the smouldering posh girl who is ready to commit. We leap into the faithful steed and then we're off. Cruising along the dual carriageway at a very legal 60 miles an hour, garrulously exchanging details of our encounters with the opposite sex, both running on a high. The yellow-white lights pass on our right and the red streak out ahead as we follow the convoy of traffic back into town. Now, Chili has got a phone number, a time to call, and a confirmation that he's sweet. Pretty good, yeah? That's good, right? Yeah. I have a series of flirtations and some apparently innocuous forearm touching to take with me. Which is good, right, guys? Because us guys, we know what it means when a lady touches us. We do. When you touch us on the forearm. We don't know a lot of stuff, but one of the things we do understand is when we know what it means. We do. We know what it means. It means that you love us. Elated, we head towards a roundabout some way off. Now, here, what I do is I transfer my pressure to the brake, allowing myself plenty of time to come to a complete halt at the roundabout should the flow of traffic deem it necessary. And then, there's a moment where I apply more pressure to the brake and nothing happens. I look down and check my feet from right to left. Accelerator, brake, clutch, A, B, C. My right foot is in the middle. It's on the brake. I look up. We're not slowing. If anything, we appear to be going faster. Or perhaps the imminence of disaster makes it appear so. And then time slows down and expands in the most dramatic way, slower than the slowest of slow motion action sequences in a made-for-TV drama in which they excessively slow down and repeat the same stunts and explosions over and over again because they're few and far between, right? And as I head towards my certain death, all I can think is, this is my fucking dad's fault. It's good this bit now, I don't know why. It works. I did have a glass with no lid, and I did that, and I was like, it just loses some of the theatre, doesn't it? Actually, I did a show in Toronto. It's just occurred to me, earlier in the year, and it was quite a wide stage, and so the middle was about here, so it was all the way over there, my water bottle, and so, I did a bit, walked over, and it gives the audience a breather, right, because it's quite fast, there's a lot going on, right? I'll go get a sip of water, come back, and one reviewer, they really liked the show, but they said that they wished that my water was closer, because they really felt it broke up the rhythm of the piece, and I just thought, that's weird, that they wrote that for their job. They'd like this one though. They'd like this show because it's just there, innit? In the other venue, it was even closer. They'd fucking love that one. So, yeah, it wouldn't be a lie, perhaps just an exaggeration, to say that everything I'd learned about crime, I'd learned from my dad. Now, he was a natural-born cheapskate with a taste for luxuries. And so anything he could procure gratis, he saw as a great victory. Against whom, I was never quite sure. Now, my dad came from a typically poor background, a baby boomer born in 1946 in a tiny village in the middle of nowhere, on the outskirts of somewhere unimportant, about 30 miles from nothing in particular. He had porridge for breakfast, gruel for dinner, and bread and lard for tea. The only fruit he ate were windfall cooking apples, blackberries that grew by the side of the road, and tinned prunes, which he was force-fed when he was constipated. The only meat they had were rabbits, which his dad, my granddad, kept in the backyard in hutches stacked 6 high and 4 abreast. They had fish once a month and a bird twice a year. He had 3 paper rounds, for which he earned 2pence a month, half of which went towards buying his new school uniform each year. The toilet was at the end of the garden path, past the dog kennel, behind the shed, and the bath was in front of the fireplace, between the wireless and the comfy chair. In short, he grew up poor. He had been hard done by his entire life, and he knew it. Adulthood for him was a chance to get his own back. But he wasn't big, he wasn't strong, so he had to be wily. Now, my dad's most audacious score happened on the day we'd finished landscaping the garden of our new house. My dad and I had turned this small patch of land into a thing of beauty, but it was lacking something. Later that evening, we're sat in the beer garden of the Miners' Arms, a country pub about 5 or 6 miles from our house, where you could spend hours chasing sheep, identifying various forms of fecal matter, and sucking in the country air. Now, my dad sups a beer, and my brother, my sister, and I share a Coke and a few bags of crisps, salt and vinegar for my brother, cheese and onion for my sister, and something meat-flavoured for me. It's a little bit chilly in the beer garden, and so there's no one else out there. And noting this, it occurs to my dad that one of the hefty wooden benches we're sat upon would look good in our newly coiffured garden. So he asks us, his children, our thoughts on pinching it. Now, my brother huffs and puffs and says nothing. He's got enough on his plate right now, what with the new arrival of wiry pubic hair, inch-deep blackheads, and the realization that everything our parents have ever said to him is, to some degree, a fabrication of the truth. He's even started referring to our portly father as the mountain of misinformation. My little sister, Kylie, waits to see what I say, and I am my father's son, and all for a little bit of mischief. So she chimes in her agreement as my brother groans and folds his arms. My dad picks the glasses up and drops them into the pub, saving the bar staff a trip and ensuring that no one pops out to retrieve them, catching us in the act. We jump in the car, my dad starts the engine, reverses, and then heaves the hefty wooden bench into the hatchback of our yellow FSO Polonaise, which is a cheap, boxy Polish car, like a poorly designed, unreliable Volvo, but with none of the safety features. Now, the bench is still hanging out the back of the FSO Polonaise, but we had no time to lose and speed off to present our spoils to my mum, who curses and berates my dad for a full 5 minutes. But then finally concedes that it does look good in our garden, doesn't it? Gives it a nice rustic feel. And I'm not only killing myself, but I'm also killing my best friend. I mean, I'm the one driving, right? I'm the one behind the wheel. I'm the one without a license. I'm the one that knows the car isn't roadworthy. I am responsible. Chili's family are going to blame me and my family for eternity. I've started a vendetta of Lorca-esque proportions. My mum's going to see images of blood and death everywhere. And she's going to blame my dad for letting me drive in the first place. And my dad is going to be crushed by guilt and become a lonely recluse, drinking his pension money away in the sterile recesses of a Wetherspoons pub or equivalent soulless boozer of the time. Instinctively, I turn the steering wheel to my left, then my right, to try and go around the roundabout and avoid the oncoming traffic. My dad is just going to sit there in the Wetherspoons pub, nursing a half of their cheapest bitter, and the bar staff are going to feel sorry for him. Somewhere, I can hear the screeching of tyres on tarmac. I don't quite believe it, but it's the tyres of the Volkswagen we're going into a skid. Every now and then, one of the members of bar staff at the Wetherspoons pub is going to feel particularly sorry for my dad and offer to buy him a drink. He is going to make them feel worse by saying, they remind him of his son. My hands are gripping the steering wheel tightly. They are purple and white, like tinned corned beef. My right leg is locked on the brake, every muscle willing the car to stop! Yeah, Jimmy died in a car crash, you see? He's only a boy. Had his whole life ahead of him. See you tomorrow, lads. Oh, thanks for the drink. Now, by the time I was 16, I had enough of school, and I left home too. The usual sorts of reasons. And Chili and I moved into a small hostel for disenfranchised youth that was funded by some secular Christian organisation. Now, we didn't really fit in amongst the violent, drug-addicted miscreants that lived there, but we stubbornly stayed there nonetheless. And it was from the guys in this hostel that we actually first learned how to shoplift, right? They showed us the tricks of the trade, right? And to begin with, it was just a few small things, right? Like cheese and butter, maybe a jar of pesto. And then we got better at it, right? And at one point, at the peak of our powers, I remember we were in Sainsbury's, and Chili stole a 9-pound frozen duck. He just picked it up, put it under his jumper, and just sort of walked out, and no one did anything. It's really weird. The weird thing about that as well was that we were like 16, 17, so what are we going to do with a 9-pound frozen? We don't know what to do with that. We get back to the hostel, so he gave it to a woman who lived in the estate, right, who had a bunch of kids, and we gave it to her, and she's like, where'd you get that from? And we're like, found it. That's what you always say, right? So then she managed to feed, her family of 6 for like, a month. So we felt pretty good about that sort of Robin Hood-esque moment, even though that wasn't our initial intention. It sort of worked out that way, and we felt like pretty heroic. But then we got better and better at shoplifting, and after a while, right, it wasn't what we needed to steal or wanted to steal. We just wanted to see what we could get away with stealing. Yeah? And as the car flips, I watch the windscreen dissolve in front of me, shattering outwards into 1,000 tiny pieces, which I reach out for, or imagine myself reaching out for. And there's a strange sensation of leaning to one side, which I assume must be the G-force of flipping upside down in a car. And I casually wonder how many times we've gone around and if it looks anything like the army Jeep at the beginning of the A-Team, The one in the opening credits. Yeah, cool. I look over at Chili, and Chili's relaxed. He's smiling that cheeky, elfish grin of his. He tells me, it's going to be okay. Yeah. He's done this before. Yeah. It's going to be a cinch. Din 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 din. Everyone likes that bit, right? Because when the guitar kicks in, is when BA comes in, isn't it? You're like, oh, when they introduce each character, don't they? Like they used to in shows. Has anyone not seen the A-Team before? One, just a couple of. No, it's all right. Doesn't matter.
It was a different time.
Yeah. It was great at the time. It's good. Do you know? Doesn't matter. There's other references later on in the show you might like. There's one to The Matrix, which everyone's seen. Oh, you haven't seen that, have you? Didn't we talk about this before? Yeah. Fuck. That bit's not going to work, is it? I was setting up a bit for later, which always bang on. But, because I'm filming this Netflix special, some people came a second time, right, to support the show. So it means that bit, the one person who doesn't see the A-Team, I can't do that bit. To be fair, Richy, something was bound to go wrong. That's a great bit that makes me look as though I've got a great handle on the room and what happens when it's a callback later on. It's like, oh, but now, that bit's fucked. Maybe this bit, the failure of it, is better than the actual thing, to be fair, because it's not that good a bit, really. It's just sort of like, it's just another bit, right? It's another layer to this theatrical tiramisu that we're all consuming eagerly with our little espresso spoons, aren't we? Because that's what it is. Or trifle, if you're like me and you're working class. They're similar, aren't they? Only, obviously a tiramisu, trifle. I mean, really a tiramisu is just a trifle that someone accidentally spilled coffee on. They're like, oh, I'll just eat it anyway. Yeah, cool. Chili and I, this happens in every show. If you haven't seen me before, what usually happens is I try and sort of, it's not deliberate, but I kind of speak quite quickly and there's a lot of stuff going on, right? And usually there's, people coming in and out of the show because it's fringe and stuff. And so usually I have some sort of breakdown and I have to recover. It's kind of, some people think that's part of my charm. So Chili and I, we like to get out of the city of Plymouth and go wander and roam through the grounds of stately homes that abound in the southwest of England. So we take a large lump of chocolatey smooth Moroccan hashish and the passenger ferry over to Mount Edgecombe. And then suddenly, we're in a different world, right? Away from the concrete tenement buildings we live in and around. We're walking through botanical gardens, on narrow paths through well-kept lawns, then into dense woodlands where birds chirp and flutter amongst the branches, rabbits scamper amongst scrub and fern, red squirrels scurry up and down the trunks of vast oaks. A young fawn catches my eye as it grazes on some tender leaves and shoots, before then skipping off after its mother. Honk, 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 honk. I know, it's good that bit, isn't it? A lot of people, sometimes people always appreciate the craft that goes into creating that whole sort of, animal sitch. But the deer bit in particular, that's a lot of rehearsal. People just think, you got to study them, follow them around, listen. It's the method, isn't it? Anyway, Chili and I, it's good. Honk. I like that. I just like doing it. It's fun. And they honk as well. A lot of people don't realise that. They actually make a honking sound. So a lot of people think, that's good. He's doing a deer physically, but he's doing a goose sound. I don't get it. Why is he doing that? That's weird. He seems confused. But actually what I'm doing is I'm nailing the physical and vocal elements of a young deer. Yeah. Anyway, Chili and I, we wander and roam through the woods, and then we sit and we smoke, and we take it all in until the light begins to fade. And then we walk down to the dock to catch the last ferry home, which has already gone. We pause for a moment and consider walking the 10 miles around to the car ferry that runs night and day. We dismiss this idea as it is conceived and decide quite contentedly just to camp out in the woods, build a fire and smoke the night away. So back we traipse through the woods, leaving the dock behind and the only pocket of civilization for miles around. And we sit and we pick up where we left off in what we like to call the conversation, which is this continual philosophical dialogue we've been having about life, the universe and everything else. Now, some way into our musings and hypothesizings, the conversation takes a turn. And we begin talking about our favourite meal, what it would be if you're on death row. I decide upon a fried breakfast. 12 items including black and white pudding, sausage, egg, bacon, tomatoes, fried slice, and all the rest of it. Chili decides upon a good sandwich, which he details and constructs at great length. Or, if you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? Immediately, I just say, banana. Yeah, arguing that bananas are full of everything you need to survive. It's actually a pretty good answer in this situation, you know? And Chili decides upon fish, stating that there are a species of early man who ate nothing else. Really? Just fish? Cool. And as we argue our various points and decisions, we realise we're ravenous, we're famished, we're starving, we haven't eaten anything for hours, and we're pretty stoned by now, deeply baked in fact, and so the pangs of hunger are all consuming. They're dominating our thoughts, commanding our attention. We didn't plan this camping trip very well, we don't even have anything to drink. Almost as I realise this, my throat constricts and the remaining moisture dissipates into the air. I try and swallow, but it hurts, I'm so dry. This is an emergency. We need food, we need water, we need it now. So, we put our heads together. Now, there is nothing for miles around. There is no edible vegetation. The seawater is undrinkable. The chances of catching some wildfowl or game are pretty slim. Although, I do suddenly remember something I'd read in the SAS survival guide about how to catch a seagull. Basically, what you do is you throw some small pieces of bread into the air, which the seagull will catch and swallow immediately. You do this a few times, right? But then you throw a small pebble into the air, right? Which, only this time, right, the sudden weight change when the seagull swallows it sends it crashing to the ground, right? Whereupon you race over and cave the seagull's head in with a half brick. No, that's it. Or there's that other trick, isn't there, where you can feed a seagull bicarbonate of soda and then it explodes. I'm not really sure how that works though. It's something to do with their gut fauna, isn't it? It's quite different to ours, where they can digest all kinds of things, can't they? That's what they. So it's yeah, maybe the yeah. Anyway, we don't have any bicarbonate of soda with us with which to feed the seagulls, right? Which they probably wouldn't willingly eat anyway. And we don't have any bread with which to entice the seagulls from the air. And it's dark, you know. And even if it wasn't dark, I don't think either of us has the guts to kill, cook, and then eat a seagull. And I'm not even sure they're edible. Are they seagulls? Can you eat? They are.
Yes.
So one person. No one's ever. You can eat them. Why do we eat them then? We should start doing that, because they are bastards, aren't they? Let's get on it. Where is the food around here? Where are the beverages, you know? We both know the answer. The tea room. The tea room is exactly that. It's a small, overpriced boîte serving tea, cake, coffee, crisps and confectionaries. It's run by some snooty middle-class types who pay their teenage staff peanuts and charge unsuspecting tourists a fortune for substandard refreshments, because they know there's nothing else around there, right? So if you're hungry and or thirsty, you have little choice but to patronize the establishment. We fucking hate them. Yeah, we detest them. Yeah, we're gonna rob the thieving bastards. That's right, yeah. We're working class heroes redressing the balance, robbing the rich and all that. So we march through the woods, urgently planning our heist, already pumped full of adrenaline. Moments later, we're casing the joint, peering through the windows, looking for a way in, trying to figure out if there's an alarm system or something. After some contemplation, we decide the best thing to do is to use this big breeze block, and then we can target a section of the door and maybe smash 4 panes of glass and then squeeze through the gap and help ourselves to the loot that is surely there for our taking. So, holding the breeze block between us, we take a few steps back and then we charge! There is an almighty crashing sound. The wood cracks and splinters. Quite remarkably, the 4 panes of glass shatter as we planned. And then we squeeze through the gap, and suddenly I'm in the zone, shouting in a whisper, go, 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 like I'm the leader of some special forces unit on ops, rescuing the ambassador of some righteous Western superior nation from the evil clutches of some ethnic extremist terrorist organization with shaky morals and dodgy principles, who refuse to compromise unless their list of outrageous demands are met. Go, 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 go. And we just grab the first few things that come to hand. Chili gets hold of a couple of boxes of sweets, and I get hold of a case of grapefruit juice. There seems to be very little else around there, but we have no time to lose. He who hesitates goes home in a body bag. Etc. And we race out of there, running, sweating, panicking, wondering who will give chase. the police, the dogs, the guards, our social moral consciences. It's low-hanging branches, isn't it? There's a ravine. Can't believe I did that. It's hopscotch, yeah? You know, they did that thing, didn't they, in which city was it? I think it was Copenhagen or somewhere. They did a thing where someone would just draw hopscotch things on the pavement, right? On the sidewalk, if it's in America. And then people, they film them, right, to see what sort of people would do it, right? Try and be like, and you know, what they realized is that some people would do it, some people wouldn't. That was the conclusion of that social experiment, was that some people have fun and some people are wankers. Which, I mean, we know that anyway, we know that. Whoa, there's another bit. Oh, that's weird. Scared myself. Usually that bit, the running bit there, goes on for like another 10, 15, but it's the end of the fringe, isn't it? Doesn't matter now, does it? Doesn't matter what happens. So yeah, just haven't got the juice, you know, haven't got the stamina anymore, you know. Yeah, it's Monday, like, no, who's doing a show on a Monday? That fucking, you know what I mean? Oh, what a weird choice. Do you know what I'll do though, is that, because a lot of people like that, right? Especially because people don't realise how much they like mime until they see it. But a lot of people, big fans of mime running. They just, all of you were. Like now you're thinking, no, I don't like mime. You do. You don't realise how much you like mime. It's coming back. So what I'll do is at the end, because there's no show after this, I'll just do that bit as an encore, right? If this goes well, the rest of it I mean, obviously if it just fucking crashes and burns toward the end, I'll just slink out and we won't talk about it. But if it goes well, because I'm feeling like this is going all right so far, I'm quite happy. You know, you seem like a nice bunch of people, it's good. And so what I'll do is I'll just do it at the end for you. Just... Eventually, we get back to our camp and we gorge ourselves on Snickers and Mars bars. I ate about 7 or 8 of them. And we wash it down with litres and litres of grapefruit juice made from concentrate. And then there is silence. There is stillness. And for a moment, everything is simple. Everything is perfect. My right leg is still locked on the brake, and my hands are still gripping the steering wheel. I look down at Chili, and realise the car is on its side. Oh, Chili is fine. Oh, I knew he would be. I'm fine too. I say to Chili, let's go, let's run, let's get the fuck out of here. We jump out of the car. A few people stop to see if we're okay. Yeah, we're not hurt, thank you. And we tip the car over so it rests on all 4 wheels. And then, just a reaction. I get in the driver's seat and I try and start the engine. It's clearly just shock. Nothing happens. So I try again and again and again. But it's dead. So I get out and I sit by the side of the road and I wait for the police to arrive. You see, it was always like that with us, right? All of the crimes that Chili and I committed, it was always it was always spontaneous, right? It was always audacious. It was always fueled by a working class chip, a disdain for authority, but most importantly, an impish sense of fun. So one night, right, we're walking home from the 24-hour garage, and Chili stops and presses his face to the mesh fence that runs along to our right. I stop. I do the same. And we watch as postal workers on the night shift haul large sacks of letters and parcels onto trains, into vans, off to be sorted, redirected, misdirected, delivered, and lost forever. And then, without saying a word, Chili just scales the mesh fence and heads towards his target, one of the sacks of parcels. And I, behind the fence, watch him. He's kind of like James Bond, moving invisibly in a Russian nuclear base. And for a moment, I wonder how he's going undetected, and if it is indeed like one of those James Bond scenarios where the arch-villain with a disability and a mishmash Eurasian accent is allowing him to go undetected because it's all part of his elaborate plan from which he derives this perverse pleasure. Mr. Bond, welcome, at last, yes. My cat is very, very lumpy. He has many inoperable cysts, which is unfortunate for him, but it lends me a more sinister air, no? Go outside, go, Tybalt. Make friends. I called the cat Tybalt there, I don't know if you lay it, because we know Tybalt, right, is Juliet's cousin, Romeo and Juliet, but does anyone know, and I know someone's seen this before, but if you haven't seen this before, does anyone know what Tybalt's nickname is in Romeo and Juliet?
Prince of Cats.
Jesus Christ. I know you haven't seen this either, so that's, yeah. Prince, yeah, his nickname's, that's good, so yeah, I mean, it's Prince of Cats is Tybalt's nickname, so obviously I called the cat Tybalt, right? And that way, when I said it, I'm sure you went, as at the time, you went, I get that reference, right? Because it's quite obscure, right? And so you probably, so you probably felt like, probably better than everyone else for like that moment, right? Which is pretty good. Yeah, right, yeah, see, it's good. And it doesn't matter if you didn't know that, doesn't matter if you didn't know it, because what you got to remember is sometimes there's a bit, right, the 18 bit earlier, right, for example, which this lady didn't get, and there's other bits that like you didn't, like over here, you didn't get the Tybalt reference, there's the other bits later, there's a Matrix reference I do later on, someone else might not get that. And what you got to remember is if there's a bit in the show that you don't get, right, other people will be getting that bit. And so you've got to remember that bit of the show is not for you. And you've got to try not to be so selfish as an audience member. Because you can't enjoy everything, can you? It's like, that's just greedy, isn't it? Anyway, then I noticed the postal workers themselves. They look tired. They look unfocused. They look more stoned than us. Ha! They're baked. They're mashed, they're cooked, of course they are. That's how they managed to do such a mundane task, such as sorting mail, right? You have to be high in some way, wouldn't you, to do that? And just as I'm piecing this all together, you know, laughing to myself that I brought it, it's like, you know, it's like I'm seeing the Matrix for the first time. That's what it feels like, this thing unfolding, you know? You know, that series of green numbers just going up and down. There is no spoon. Whoa. Some people, no, still no. Yeah. Anyway, and just as I'm laughing at the ironic brilliance of this whole situation, Chili then hauls a sack of parcels over the fence, large enough to hold the average corpse, and then we're walking back to our place to look over the goods. See, it's kind of like Christmas. Yeah. Only better. Because this sack of parcels, it's illegal, isn't it? It's illicit. Yeah. It's a bonus. And we don't have to share it with anyone. And there isn't the false notion of goodwill to all men being played out half-heartedly, right? And an insistence that you enjoy yourself no matter how you feel on that particular day of the year. And a feeling that you and your family are gluttons because you have mountains of food in the house which you have to eat because it's Christmas, right? And you have to keep eating until you feel sick, even if you are full, right? And maybe your Auntie Sue brings round her famous trifle, which is not really famous, it's just a bird's trifle made from a packet, right? But she calls it her famous trifle to lend it some sort of like elevated status in the whole pantheon of different puddings. That's what she does. And she's not even your real aunt. She's just a woman that lives down the street that your mum smokes fags with when you were at school, right? That's what she does. So, but she comes round because she's lonely or whatever. Her husband left her. Maybe it wasn't her fault. I don't know. No one knows. I don't like to speculate on other people's relationships, right? Who knows what the fuck happened? But she brings around she brings around her famous trifle and she walks in and then she gets you a huge portion and you're like, I feel sick. I've just had 4 desserts. And you have to eat it, right? Because otherwise you're going to offend Auntie Sue and you're like, she's not my real auntie. And then, and your granny has sent you a gift voucher, hasn't she, at Christmas for W.H. Smith's, which is essentially just a newsagent's, isn't it? And the only thing you can buy at W.H. Smith's is a magazine and a shitty Jackie Collins novel and the like. And so why don't your granny just buy you a magazine or a shitty paperback, or give you £5, just give you the cash or a cheque, but she doesn't, right? And so you have this look of disappointment on your face and you feel terrible, right? Because she's old and she doesn't know any better. And your parents feel terrible too, because they know the only thing you can buy at W.H. Smith's is a magazine and a shitty paperback. And so your parents exchange the gift voucher with you for £5 in cash. And what are your parents going to do with a gift voucher from W.H. Smith's, right? Because your parents don't read. They never read, except for the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror, which, by the way, Dad, does not give you a balanced fucking view of the world, right? And you feel terrible, because your granny's old and she doesn't know, and she had to leave school at 14, so maybe she's trying to encourage you reading. That's why she got your gift certificate, somewhere you can actually buy a book. And she just wanted to read something, anything, because she had to leave school early, because she had to help rebuild this country, right? Because it was in tatters back then, when she was a kid. She had to do that after the First World War. And she's 95, and every birthday, and Christmas, and Easter, she still sends you, your brother, your sister, and your 28 cousins, she still sends you a gift certificate of W.H. Smith with a handwritten card, and she writes up this long thing, referencing all the things you talked about before, asking how school is, and saying, oh, well, I hope you keep going with the drama. Maybe one day you'll be in a show somewhere in a basement with like 20 people filming it for Netflix, and she hopes that for you, right? She hopes all these things for you. She has these dreams for you, and she writes all these kisses at the bottom, right? Like 7 or 8, and she's got chronic arthritis, so you know that every kiss she writes is agony for her, but she foregoes her pain because it's more important for her that you know that she loves you. And each time you look at this gift certificate, like, who the fuck is this cunt? Does she know the first thing about me? Why don't you just give me some money so I can actually go and buy something I want? And of course that's what you think, isn't it? Of course that's what you think, because you're a selfish, self-entitled, spoiled little wanker, aren't you? And anyway, this sack of parcels, this stolen sack of mail, is better than any Christmas, because anything we open is ours to sell. There are books we can sell. There are clothes we can sell. There are office supplies and electrical goods. All of these things we can sell. And just as we're tearing open the last few things, Chili stops and looks down at his hands as though they're bleeding. Then he raises them up for me to see what he's holding. A tiny pair of knitted booty slippers. And then Chili, masochist that he is, reads from a small card. I hope these fit you, baby Matty. Lots of love. Granny. Kiss. 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 This is horrible. This is terrible. We're going to hell! And then, there's just lots of questions being fired at me. Who I am, where I'm from, where I'm going, what I've been doing, have I had a drink tonight? Have you had a drink tonight, sir? Yes, no, not really. Which is it, sir? Yes, but only a half of cider, and that was ages ago. We're going to have to breathalyze you, sir. Okay. I mean, I feel confident. I feel fine. They breathalyze everyone, right? They have to, right? It's part of their mandate. If they stop you when you're driving in the UK, they have to breathalyze you to see if you've been drinking, which makes perfect sense in a country where so many deaths are linked to drunken driving, I'm all for it, I'm right behind it. I'm a staunch supporter of the rule. So these guys, they produce a contraption which will roughly gauge the booze in my system. And I take a big breath and let it out. Now, the green light does not ignite. The red light, however, does. So I say goodbye to Chili, who's been waiting patiently for the outcome of my detention, and I'm escorted into the back of a police car. From the driver's seat in front of me, one of the constables reads me my rights from a laminated card, and I try not to think about prison. You see, it all comes down to karma, doesn't it? Right? Bad things happen to me because I have bad karma. And even if good things do manage to happen, I can't enjoy them because of this black cloud hanging over my head. I'm like Pootle, the flump, you know? The flumps are this little tiny group of fluffy, round, humanoid-type creatures. It's a BBC series for kids from back in the 70s and 80s. Doesn't matter. But Pootle, who's the main flump, not in terms of hierarchy, because there isn't really a hierarchy in flump society. They just all pull together and just do what needs to be done. It's sort of like socialism, but, you know, sort of less overtly political for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, so Pootle's just sort of like the feature flump of each episode. And in this one particular episode that has always stayed with me, Pootle wakes up in the morning and he has this black cloud hanging over his head, just right there, physically, just right there. And he can't get rid of it, right? So he goes around and he asks all the other flumps for their advice, and they give him their various insights into the matter. And you know, nothing really helps because the black cloud's just still right there. So Pootle goes for this long walk and he walks up this hill and he stands at this, much like the seat here, right? He stands on this precipice on the edge. He looks out and he's not going to kill himself. It's not that sort of show. It's for kids. Like I said, it's just a good place to go and think for him, right? And he stands there and he just breaks into song. And then the black cloud just sort of disappears and he's bathed in sunshine and he reaches some kind of epiphany that maybe, you know, he shouldn't worry about things too much. Stop overthinking everything. Stop living in this headspace, you know, right here. Just try and let it go. And it's all kind of fairly pseudo-Buddhist and spiritual. And actually, do you know what? Pootle's situation has nothing to do with me, does it? Because he's just an innocent little flump who's got a minor case of the blues. It's not as though he's been punished for the fact that some granny somewhere has knitted her grandson some tiny booty slippers and he's not going to get them. He's never going to get them because of some selfish act of thievery. Prison. A 6x4 cell being shared with a 6'4" bodybuilder called Marjorie. That's what I imagine it'll be like. Myself and Marjorie together in a cell. It is very well advertised that if you get caught for drunken driving, you will face a fine and/or prison. You hear stories all the time of people being sent away for, 2 or 3 years because they were 3 or 4 times over the limit. And okay, I've only had a half of cider, but I have no idea how strong it was and how efficiently my body is metabolizing the alcohol. And if I had anything to drink the day before today, which is still in my system. And so I'm desperately trying to think about what I did the day before today. If I had anything to drink, and I can't think about anything, I can't focus on anything. All I can think about is the notorious mind-fucking properties of Strumpy cider. I mean, you look at the people who drink it habitually, yeah, with the big red grog blossom noses, and they're professional drinkers, those guys are. They're professional drinkers. So what chance do I have? What chance do I have? Once at the station, I'm taken before a sergeant's desk, and I empty my pockets of the little they contain, and I fill out a form and wait. Then I'm taken into a room which holds the master breathalyzer, a huge contraption, bigger than the first computer ever made. Yeah, you know that device they used back in the day to add, the first thing they actually did with it was they used it to add 1 + 1. Yeah, and after about 147 hours or something, someone was like, "It's 2!" And there was much merriment. Anyway, I'm instructed to breathe into this device 3 times. And if any of the readings are over 300 what? I don't know. But if any of the readings are over 300, then I'm in deep shit and should probably find myself a reliable religion of some kind. So I suck the air into my lungs and I exhale. 280, a voice reads from a dial somewhere. I go again. 255, the voice says, somewhat deflated. I go a 3rd time. 220. There's a pause. Yeah, I'm in the clear. Well, I'm not going to prison for drunken driving. I'll probably have to pay a fine of some kind once I don't return to the station within the stipulated 7-day period with a driving license that I don't actually have. The coppers are visibly upset by my innocence. Yeah, they are. You're a very lucky young man. Yeah, I know. You might not be so lucky next time. Yeah, you're right. You should be more careful. I will be. Go on then. Bugger off. Thanks. And then I'm escorted back to the sergeant's desk and I retrieve my keys, my change, and my sugar-free chewing gum, which I'd stolen from Sainsbury's the day before yesterday. And I walk outside and I taste my freedom on the long walk home. I get to my parents' place. Now, ordinarily what I do is I'd open the front door and just hang the car keys on the hook above the cat litter tray and leave. But not this time. This time, Elmo, a black and white cat with a wide face and a sympathetic disposition, squats in the gravel. He looks up at me knowingly, as if to say, "Oh, you're in deep shit. They're in there. They're in there." He's actually he's doing this gesture, but because he's a cat, his thumb's all the way up here in it. That little knobbly bit they have. He's like, "They're in there. Look, my thumb is it's in there." "Oh, sorry. Thanks, Elmo. I didn't realize." "Yeah, I know. If my thumb was there, the things I could do. Get my own breakfast, for starters." "Thanks, Elmo." I walk into the front room. My mum is sat behind a full ashtray, clutching a cup of tea. And my dad is sat on the settee, reading the newspaper. Immediately, my mum gets up and hugs me with all the strength she has. My dad gets up. He's going back to bed. "You all right, son?" Yeah, I'm all right, Dad. I'm all right." The next day, my dad went down to the police station and explained everything. I don't know what he said or did, but I got away with paying a small fine, which the government deducted at a rate of £5 a fortnight from my unemployment check. So I never borrowed my dad's car again, and my mum worried about me a little bit more than she used to. But Chili and I, we sorted ourselves out after that. We got jobs. Chili got a job in the first ever McDonald's in Plymouth, which, yeah, you can laugh at that, that's right. Yeah, no, back then it was like in the early 90s, it was a pretty prestigious job. Seriously, because they, you get like free chicken nuggets and stuff, don't you? Which, when you're like 18, 19, that's like pretty badass. And I got a job working in, if you know Plymouth on Union Street, I got a job at the Warehouse nightclub, which doesn't exist anymore. And they used to have huge raves in the main bar. But for some reason, probably because I had long hair at the time, I was in the back alternative room, opening bottles of beer for hippies and goths and punks and weirdos and future fringe performers. So I really found my clan of people there, do you know what I mean? And Chili and I, we actually started to save money, and we planned our next adventure, which was hitchhiking around Europe, which we did do, which I've actually never written down at all yet, so maybe I'll do that at some point, maybe next year. And before we actually went on that trip, before any of that, before we even got jobs, Chili decided that by way of redemption, he would hand deliver the little knitted booty slippers to baby Matty. Yeah. But baby Matty was already dead. I'm only joking. He was fine. Like, who would end a show with a dead baby? Don't you trust me? We've been here for an hour together, guys. I thought, at least... No, I would never end a show with a dead baby. The last show of The Fringe on the Monday, send you out into the world with that? That's not very nice. No, that's not it. I'm sure he was fine. He grew up he's probably head of British Steel or something. Got a really nice corporate job. I don't know. No, that's not the end of the show. This bit here, now, this is the end of the show. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you. Seriously, guys, thank you for coming. Great way to end the Fringe down here. Thanks for Richy and the guys here organising this in the Banshee Labyrinth. This is a great place. If you live in Edinburgh or you come here, this is a great spot to hang out. There's so many good events that happen here. The cinema is like free free cinema, free films all the time. So much stuff goes on there. PBH Free Fringe is the reason I've been here for the last 2 years, because a friend Matt Panesh suggested I do it, and so I came and did it last year. I had a great time. Came this year, also had a great time. And but the PBH Fringe does not have any. There's no revenue stream. There's no sponsorship or anything. So today, if you've got any money on you, I don't really take money from artists as a general rule. But if anyone has a spare few pounds, there's a bucket on the table as you leave there. If you want to put some money in there, that's great. If you haven't got any money, that's totally fine, because that's why I do Free Fringe, is so that people can see things if they haven't got any money. Because when I was young, I wish I could have seen this show when I was a kid. Is that where I'm going? No, but yeah. Otherwise, I mean, perhaps if I'd seen theatre, I wouldn't be like shoplifting in Sainsbury's and doing shit like that, right? So, yeah, there's that. And yeah, thanks for coming. I'll be upstairs having a beer if anyone wants to hang out for a little while. If not, thanks for coming, guys. Cheers. Have a good day. Cheers.